Hi, everyone. I've got 6 o'clock on my end here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Holly Brand, and I am going to be facilitating our webinar here this evening. Before we get started, I do just want to go through a few quick reminders. Your cameras and microphones are all going to be disabled throughout the duration of our webinar this evening. If you have questions during the presentation about the proposed cultivated oyster mariculture site, please use the Q&A feature that's located at the bottom of your screen in Zoom. The icon looks like 2 little chat bubbles. You can type your question in there. Please feel free to use that at any point during the webinar, just so you don't forget your question or anything. And sorry, just seeing a few more people pop in. The Q&A is not going to be for comments. If you would like to provide a comment about the proposed site, please submit those via email. The email address was shown on the screen just before the webinar started. We're going to have it on the screen a few other times this evening. And you will also be receiving a follow-up email from Zoom tomorrow with that contact information as well. In addition to the email address in that follow-up email tomorrow, you will also be getting a link to our YouTube channel where you can view the recording of tonight's webinar as well, if you want to go back and review anything. And I think that's all I really wanted to cover before we get started. So I am going to hand it off to Dr. Lindsay Campbell to do our presentation. Lindsay, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you, Holly. Hi, I'm Dr. Lindsay Glass Campbell. I work with Texas Parks and Wildlife, and I will be presenting information on a proposed site for a nursery hatchery for a cultivated oyster mariculture facility tonight. Okay, again, this is information on a proposed site for a nursery hatchery facility in Palacios Bay. The site would be designated as N-0002. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide information on cultivated oyster mariculture in Texas, brief background on that, and then provide information on the proposed cultivated oyster mariculture nursery hatchery facility in Palacios Bay in the larger Matagorda Bay system. To answer any questions via the Q&A box on the proposed facility, and to give y'all instructions on how to submit comment. Brief background of cultivated oyster mariculture, which sometimes you may hear me refer to as CALM as the acronym. TPWD started accepting applications for this permitted activity in September of 2020 for off-bottom cultivated oyster mariculture hatchery grow-out farms and nursery facilities, and then also nursery hatchery facilities this past February. Off-bottom mariculture are cages that are floating bags placed in permitted areas of public waters for oysters to grow in of harvestable size. Oyster seeds from hatchery are stocked into the floating cages and bags, and the cages and oysters are worked and cleaned to produce a valuable product. Applicants nominate their own sites and conduct a natural resource survey at those sites to make sure that no natural resources are impacted. While the facility tonight is mainly a hatchery and nursery, there will be some gear, and this is some common type of gear that you see in grow-out farms. The floating cages, so cages float. This would be what we call the drying position, and the feeding position with the pontoons, floating pontoons up, and the oysters in the water. Floating bag system. Again, similar concept with floats, but just bags individually instead of in cages, and an adjustable long line system where these types of cages are moved up and down on long lines attached to poles. The permit for a CALM site is a 10-year term. An annual fee is paid based on the size of the grow out or the nursery hatchery facility. Additionally, the applicants must get authorizations from other agencies such as the General Land Office, TCEQ, U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, and U.S. Coast Guard for those that are in navigable waters. There is active use criteria for grow-up facilities that they are inputting oyster seed into their site per year based on the size of the facility, and only Eastern oyster from Texas broodstocks are allowed at these sites. Year-round harvest is allowed. However, they must comply with all Texas Department of State Health and Services regulations such time to temperature matrix, or if an area has been closed by the Department of Health due to anything in the water, harvest is not allowed then. Now, our current site, N-0002, is an oyster nursery hatchery facility run by the Palacios Marine Agriculture Research Center. It is located in Tres Palacios Bay in the town of Palacios. There will be 3.2 acres on private property and 1.8 acres in public water. These oysters are not grown out or sold for consumption. So the permit that they're applying for would not allow for selling oysters for consumption. And additionally, where it's located in the waters that it's located in, while it is safe for oysters to be grown to a certain size in those areas, they must be moved to approved or conditionally approved waters in open status before they would be eligible for at least 2 weeks before they'd be eligible for harvest. The vicinity map, again, in the larger area of Matagorda Bay, in Tres Palacios Bay, and then as you can see circled here at a marina and private property site within that area. So here are the outlines of the proposed site with the private property shaded in red and the area of public water. Now, while the marina and bay bottom in this specific area is private, the water column in Texas is considered public water. Further site layout here, there will be broodstock in the public water area will be the broodstock holding and nursery facility. And there will be a pumping station in the public water area to pump water from the bay to a mobile hatchery area and a micro nursery. Water from those facilities then will exit into a common drain that will tie into an existing storm drain line from the city of Palacios and then exit into the bay. So the water will be, again, pumped out of the marina area. Intake velocity is under the 0.5 foot per minute maximum from the National Marine Fisheries recommendations. The screen over the there will be a screen over the intake to reduce any larger organisms to be being sucked into that pump, with secondary and tertiary filtration as needed in the various buildings and structures that they would use. The hatchery structure and the microstructure are on private land, so we will not be going into the specifics on the inner workings of those in this presentation. The seawater from these buildings will drain into the existing stormwater drain. The seawater that is, again, pumped from the bay through those buildings will exit the buildings after going through oyster systems and will not be chemically treated. If quarantine is needed from the oysters or any system in those buildings. The seawater will be chlorinated and properly treated and dechlorinated prior to disposal, either through sanitary sewage system, or if it has been treated so that it is now no longer harmful into drains, but that will be determined depending on how it is treated and why at the time. There will be separate drains to a sanitary sewage system for any domestic water and bathroom sinks such as that are built on the site. Here is a diagram of the water intake structure. It will be covered. There will be a larger intake screening cage, with screening around it. A smaller one within that, water will be pumped up through a hose and then towards land to those buildings. And the velocity has been calculated based on the pump's screen size and the area of the screen to be 0.21 feet per minute estimated. And that again is below the 0.5 feet per minute maximum recommendation. Water discharge, again, we'll go over this, coming out of the buildings on land to a common drain that will then go to the existing 36-inch stormwater drain that the city of Palacios has, that exits out onto a concrete apron and bulkhead into the bay. Also, I would like to let y'all know that Texas TCEQ handles all wastewater discharge permits, and so there will be an additional review by TCEQ on the discharge of the buildings. The nursery holding and broodstock area in the marina are proposed to either use floating cages, floating long-line cages, or floating upweller systems. Broodstock and oysters brought in from out of state will all be disease tested before being allowed to being imported to the area and pass that disease testing. Oysters from other Texas bays and regions are subject to disease testing prior to being brought to the facility. The facility currently only plans to have oysters, oyster seed, larvae, and broodstock from the northern Texas genetic region of oysters, and that is the region that they are in. So to along with our biosecurity and genetic integrity management plans. If the facility later decides to bring out of region oysters, so out of the genetic region oysters, they will submit a permit amendment request with the appropriate changes to the water discharge treatment to prevent any genetic escapement from those. And then TPWD will review and determine if approved prior to that being implemented, and if necessary, another public meeting may be needed. Cross-section view of the proposed nursery area with the various type of gear. This would be with the floating cages, with the cages down, the floating pontoons up, anchored to the bulkheads. The floating long line cages. So instead of having actually the 3 different long lines, these would just be using that gear attached 2 lines within that area, and again attach the bulkheads. And the FLUPSI or floating upweller system for smaller seed would be tied to the docks, and then the smaller cages there with, again, smaller mesh according to the size of the seed held. Along with this, the applicants also performed a natural resource survey around in the 500-foot buffer area around the mouth of the marina and where the discharge is. So this is a map of the samples. They did in situ grab samples for this area. Results summary that samples were all taken on one day, 420 samples total. They used a PVC coring device to take the samples. The depth range was from 5 to 8 feet. The sample compositions were mud or mud and shell hash. Shell hash was observed or almost from all mussel shells and other invertebrate mollusks. There were 4 samples that contained oyster shell pieces that were under 1 inch in size. And here are some representative pictures of the samples in the natural resource survey. So I'll go over the proposed next steps, and then we will answer any questions that are typed in the Q&A box. Again, there should be a button for question and answer if you have any questions on this to type. For us to consider public comment, we're not taking public comment, official public comment through this presentation. You will need to submit them to this email, oyster.mariculture@tpwd.texas.gov, and there's a 2-week open comment period. It's October through October 24th. After that, if there are no issues that need to be addressed from public comment, a conditional permit is issued to the applicant that is good for 1 year. With this conditional permit, they cannot begin the mariculture activity yet. They use this conditional permit to go and seek and secure authorizations from other state and federal agencies. Once they get those authorizations and present those to TPWD for review, then a final permit can be authorized and issued after the first annual fee is received. And at that point in time, mariculture activity can begin. So we're going to just pause here. I'll leave this up in case you need to see the address and the date public comment needs to be submitted, and we will just pause for a few minutes to see if there's any questions that come in. Okay, it does not look as though we have any questions at this time, and unless any of my other co-hosts have any additional comments that they would like to make, I will turn it back over to Holly, who will let us know how the wrap up of the meeting and about the surveys and recording.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. If anything shows up, I'll stop and we can address that then. But if I don't see anything, just again, another reminder that you will be getting an email tomorrow from us with instructions about how to review this recording again and where to submit your public comment to us. So if you don't see anything from us, please feel free again to reach out to us at that oyster.mariculture email address. So it's oyster.mariculture@tpwd.texas.gov, and we can send you links or take your comment there. And that's everything that I had. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our panelists here today and to Lindsay for presenting. And we will go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.